I can't even tell you guys the amount of problems that I have had trying to record this episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say fuck it, and this is part 2, and we're just going to pick up right where we left off. And that's what I'm going to do, because I am going to rip out my hair if I try and mess with this any more than I have already. The end. Number 14 is Director Denial. She is a social worker at a police station whose coworker got herself killed while trying to stop police officers from using anatomically correct child dolls for sexual purposes. If that sounds like it's a lot to process, it's because it is. The coworker tries everything to get these officers to stop using these dolls that she bought by mistake. She tries gluing their orifices closed. She tries putting razor blades in them, and nothing is working, and they are still just using these child dolls as sexual objects, and it's just a really disturbing time. Eventually, she's ordered to relinquish custody of the dolls so that everyone can continue using them. So she kidnaps them and gets herself killed in, I believe, a police chase. Number 15 is the matchmaker. His girlfriend refuses to marry him, so he hires a male prostitute to ruin her image of the perfect man. There's also a story about an ongoing joke in his family about a noise made in a freak castration accident that happened in a Nazi POW camp. The said accident ended up saving the lives of matchmaker's uncles. Next, at number 16, I have St. Gutfrey. His story, I think, stuck with me the most, as it did a lot of people, apparently. The majority of people who know about this book know about this collection of stories in particular, which is a collection of stories about masturbation mishaps. And it's not as fun as it sounds. So yeah, he tells us a few stories about some masturbation accidents, including his own, where his bowels prolapsed because he was using the pool filter inappropriately. Oh man, how do I explain this? Okay. He was doing it on the bottom, while sitting on the bottom of his parents' pool and using the pool's filtration system on his anus. And apparently that filtration system contains, it's like 400 pounds of pressure, which led to his bowels prolapsing, and he ended up being stuck. He was being held in place by his prolapsed bowels, and he was drowning. So he, in order to keep from drowning, has to chew through his own intestines. And number 17, and the last one, is Baroness Frostbite. She is a woman who tried to rescue her coworker after he fell into a nearby hot springs. She lost her lips due to frostbite from staying with him in the snow as he died a horrible, agonizingly slow death. I used to go hot potting as a kid, and this story stuck with me because at no point did I ever think I was in any danger while doing it, but looking back on it, like, one wrong move and I could have probably died. So yeah, that was fun hearing about hot potting. in this story, something that I haven't thought of since I was a kid. So those are all the characters in play here. So now let's discuss what happens to them once they begin their writer's retreat. The individuals that signed up to abandon their lives for 3 months meet on a bus. They must not tell their loved ones where they're going, and they can only bring what will fit in one small suitcase. They are told by Mr. Whittier that they have 3 months to write their magnum opus before he will let anyone out. So they drive up to this big old abandoned theater, and they all go inside, and they are locked in, and Mr. Whittier is the only one with the keys, and for no reason will he let anyone out. For food, they are eating those freeze-dried astronaut meals. Miss America almost immediately discovers that she is pregnant and demands to be let out. Mr. Whittier refuses. Down the line, some of the writers begin to think that their experience would make for a much better story if there was some added danger, so they begin sabotaging their own food and water supply. But because each of them has the same idea to secretly start doing this and they're not coordinating at all, they very quickly run out of food and water altogether. At some point, Mr. Whittier's stomach ruptures after he eats the equivalent of like 12 turkey dinners or something. Not anything delicious, just 12 turkey dinners. And so he dies. With him being dead, they start to come up with these crazy, horrible stories about him to make for a better movie that will no doubt be made about their experience. They all begin sort of competing with each other to have the most fucked up story, because that will surely make them the main character of this story and therefore the star of this show or movie or book that will be made about their lives and about their experiences here in the theater. They begin cutting off limbs. They begin cutting off like fingers and toes and claiming that Mr. Whittier had done it to them. So they're all walking around with basically stubs by the end of the book. They keep coming up with stories about Mr. Whittier physically and sexually abusing them. All the while, they're still sabotaging the food and water. So, like I said, they run out of supplies very, very quickly. With Mr. Whittier being dead, that leaves second in command, Mrs. Clark, the new villain. And so she has awful, horrendous stories made up about her as well, even though she does not do a single thing to any of them. Lady Bag Lady dies. I can't specifically remember how, but if I can't remember how they died, I'm just going to assume it was from starvation or blood loss from having cut off all of their own fingers and toes. The group is not terribly distraught by this or upset, because less people around by the end of this experience means that the glory and or money will be split fewer ways. And that means that the ones who make it out will get more attention and sympathy and are more likely to be the main character. The Lord of Vandals is found dead. He was bludgeoned with maybe what appears to be a bowling ball, but who can really tell for sure. St. Godfrey and Mother Nature decide to become a couple because a romance plot would garner more sympathy from audiences. So writers begin dropping like flies, and once Comrade Snarky dies, the remaining writers resort to cannibalism. Chef Assassin uses his fancy knives to cut off a portion of Comrade Snarky's ass, and they go and they go and fry it up and eat Comrade Snarky's ass. While they're chowing down, all of a sudden, Comrade Snarky herself appears on the stairs and is very upset that they didn't get her when they found out they had food. So she's like, "What are you guys eating? I want some. I can't believe you guys didn't tell me we had food." And so she goes, grabs some of the meat and begins to eat her own ass, which, don't we all wish we could eat our own ass? She asks where they got it from, and everyone is just silent. They are frozen. They don't know what to say or do. And then while looking at it, at the meat in her hand, she sees a very familiar rose tattoo. She's like, "Hey, that looks just like the one I have on my ass." Her last words were, "I guess I deserved this," which she did, and then she dies from blood loss. For real this time. Miss America goes into labor. They make baby stew and try to feed it to her, and then she dies shortly after that. The matchmaker bleeds out after getting another writer to castrate him in an attempt to make himself the most sympathetic and therefore main character of their story. Then the missing link chokes to death while trying to eat it, because somehow he thinks that if he is forced to eat the penis, then that will surely make him the most sympathetic and therefore main character of their story. So several people are dead, Mrs. Clark included. I cannot for the life of me remember how she dies. Mr. Whittier finally steps out of the shadows and reveals that with the help of Mrs. Clark, he faked his death and he's been watching them on hidden cameras. He states that by blaming him for everything and playing the victim, they hadn't acted any differently from the other groups he had taken. He tells the 11 remaining writers that the 3 months are up and they're free to leave. He then chooses Miss Sneezy to be the one he saves and gives a new life. Mother Nature insists that they need to stay and wait a little bit longer to be rescued so their story has more drama. She and St. Godfrey stab Miss Sneezy. They drag her corpse back into the abandoned theater, lock the doors, and continue to wait until help comes for them. So that's the end. Mr. Whittier also tells a story about 2 teenagers named Adam and Eve who choose not to participate in a worldwide mass suicide, but it's not confirmed whether or not this is happening in universe or if it's just a story he made up. Yeah, I liked this book just fine. It's not my favorite thing Palahniuk has ever done, but it's still good. Next time you see me, I'll be posting my monthly book list, and after that I'll be doing a breakdown of a book called My Eyes Are Black Holes by Logan Ryan Smith. So if you want to read along with me, that's the book I will be reading next. The end. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you're still here at the end of this video, I appreciate it. I love you guys, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.